The doctor's son wasn't deaf. The nanny discovered the truth the father refused to believe. Ashley Thompson was cleaning the living room when she noticed something strange in Timmy's behavior. The 6-year-old boy was sitting on the floor playing with his colorful blocks, wearing the green headphones that his father, Dr. Michael Harrison, had prescribed as part of the treatment for his supposed profound deafness. That's when the neighbor's cat meowed outside the window. Timmy immediately turned his head toward the sound, smiled, and waved at the animal. Ashley stopped cleaning, watching carefully. When a horn honked on the street, again the boy reacted naturally, looking out the window with curiosity. "Timmy, sweetie, want a snack?" she asked in a normal voice. The boy kept playing, apparently not hearing anything. But when Ashley clapped her hands very softly behind him, Timmy turned quickly, then pretended nothing had happened. Ashley had been working at the Harrison family's house for only 3 weeks. She had been hired specifically to help with Timmy's care, who, according to Dr. Michael, needed special attention due to his condition. The doctor was respected in New York, known for his clinic specializing in hearing problems. When he discovered that his own son had developed profound deafness at age 5, he dedicated himself entirely to the child's treatment. That afternoon, Dr. Michael came home from the office earlier than usual. Ashley watched him greet his son with elaborate gestures in sign language, which he had quickly learned to communicate with Timmy. The boy responded perfectly to the signs, but there was something in his behavior that bothered the nanny. "How was he today?" asked Dr. Michael, taking off his lab coat and hanging it on the chair. "Very calm, doctor. He played all afternoon, did the activities you left prepared." "Great. And the breathing exercises? Did he do them properly?" "Yes, sir, he's very obedient." Dr. Michael smiled proudly, but Ashley noticed a deep sadness in his eyes. The 42-year-old man carried the weight of guilt for not detecting his son's deafness earlier. According to what he had told her, Timmy had gradually lost his hearing, and when they finally discovered it, it was already too late to reverse the condition. That night, after Dr. Michael retired to his room, Ashley decided to do a more detailed cleaning in the living room. Timmy had asked to stay up a little longer, playing with his toy cars on the rug. She discreetly observed the boy while organizing the books on the shelf. The wall clock made a soft ticking sound. Timmy, who had his back to the clock, suddenly stopped playing and looked directly at the object. Ashley followed his gaze and saw that the second hand had stopped. The boy waited a few seconds, and when the clock started working again, continued playing normally. "My goodness," murmured Ashley, feeling a chill down her spine. How could a deaf child notice that a clock had stopped making noise? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us, who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following days, Ashley began paying more attention to the details. Timmy wore the headphones practically all the time, taking them off only for bathing and sleeping. Dr. Michael had explained that the devices helped stimulate the auditory nerves, an experimental therapy he was testing. One morning, while Dr. Michael was handling an emergency at the hospital, Ashley decided to run a test. She played music very softly on the kitchen radio and observed Timmy, who was playing in the living room. The boy began nodding his head to the rhythm of the music, still wearing the headphones. "Timmy, what song is that you're listening to?" she asked, approaching. The boy turned red and stopped swaying immediately. "I'm not listening to anything, Aunt Ashley. I can't hear, remember?" "Of course, sorry, my dear. I was just asking if you felt any vibrations." "Oh yes, I feel some strange vibrations sometimes." Ashley wasn't convinced. Something definitely wasn't right. She decided to look for more information about Timmy's case. She knew Dr. Michael Harrison kept some of his son's medical documents in a file in the office. When he left for the clinic, she took the opportunity to take a look. The tests were abundant. Audiograms, MRIs, CT scans, all indicating profound bilateral deafness. But one thing caught Ashley's attention: the dates. All the tests had been done on the same day about a year ago, and in the folder there was a handwritten note from Dr. Michael himself. Timmy presented sudden symptoms after a traumatic episode. Investigate emotional causes. Traumatic episode? What traumatic episode? Ashley looked for more documents, and found a letter from a child psychologist, Dr. Sarah Roberts, dated a few months back. The letter suggested that Timmy might be suffering from psychogenic deafness, a condition where a child loses their hearing due to emotional, not physical factors. The letter recommended immediate psychological therapy. At the end of the letter, there was a note that chilled Ashley's blood. Dr. Michael, I understand your resistance to accepting this possibility, but I insist that Timmy needs psychological support. The physical exams you conducted are all normal. Your son's deafness may be reversible if we treat the emotional cause. Dr. Michael had completely ignored the psychologist's recommendation. That same day, Ashley decided to talk directly with Timmy. She waited until Dr. Michael left for an appointment and sat on the floor next to the boy who was playing with his blocks. Timmy, can I ask you a question? The boy nodded without taking off his headphones. Do you like these headphones? So, sometimes they bother me. Why don't you take them off? Daddy said I need to wear them. It's to make me better. And do you want to get better? Timmy stopped playing and looked directly into Ashley's eyes. For a moment, she saw a deep sadness in those blue eyes. Aunt Ashley, can I tell you a secret? Of course, my dear. Sometimes I hear things, but I can't tell Daddy. Why not? Because he gets very sad when I hear. He prefers it when I don't hear anything. Ashley felt her heart race. What do you mean, Timmy? One day I heard Daddy crying in his room. He was talking to himself, saying it was his fault I couldn't hear anymore. So I thought if I started hearing again, he would get even sadder, because he would remember that I used to hear, and now I don't anymore. But you do hear, don't you? Timmy looked around, checking if they were alone, and whispered, I hear everything, Aunt Ashley, but promise you won't tell Daddy. Ashley hugged the boy, feeling tears in her eyes. The situation was much more complex than she had imagined. A 6-year-old child was sacrificing his own honesty to protect his father's feelings. Timmy, do you remember when you first stopped hearing? The boy became thoughtful. It was the day Daddy and Mommy had a really bad fight. They yelled all night. Mommy left in the morning and never came back. Daddy cried so much, so I thought if I couldn't hear anymore, I wouldn't have to hear them fighting again. The revelation hit Ashley like a punch to the stomach. Dr. Michael's wife had abandoned the family, and Timmy had developed psychological deafness to protect himself from the emotional pain. The boy had literally closed himself off from the world of sounds to avoid having to deal with the painful reality. And Dr. Michael, consumed by guilt and the pain of separation, had chosen to believe his son had a real physical problem rather than face the truth about the emotional trauma the family had suffered. Aunt Ashley, are you leaving too? Asked Timmy, fear in his eyes. No, sweetheart, I'm not leaving, but we need to help your daddy understand that you're okay, that you can hear. No, Timmy became agitated. If he finds out I lied, he'll be mad at me. He won't be mad, Timmy. He'll be happy. No, he won't. He likes taking care of me when I'm sick. If I'm not sick, he won't like me anymore. Ashley realized the complexity of the situation. Timmy wasn't just protecting his father from the truth. He was also ensuring he would continue to receive attention and care. After his mother abandoned the family, the boy had found a way to keep his father close through his illness. That afternoon, Dr. Michael Harrison came home early again. Ashley noticed this had been happening frequently. He was cancelling appointments to spend more time with his son. Dr. Harrison, may I speak with you? Of course, Ashley. Is something wrong? It's about Timmy. I've observed some things I'd like to discuss. Dr. Harrison immediately became tense. What kind of things? Well, sometimes it seems like he reacts to sounds even when he's wearing his headphones. That's normal. The devices pick up vibrations that can stimulate residual auditory sensations. But doctor, today I saw him humming a song that was playing on the radio, very softly. Dr. Harrison stopped shuffling papers and looked directly at Ashley. Ashley, I've been a doctor for 20 years, a specialist in hearing problems. I've run every possible test on my son. He has irreversible, profound bilateral deafness. I understand, doctor, but... No buts! Dr. Harrison raised his voice. You've been here 3 weeks and you want to question a medical diagnosis. Doctor, with all due respect, sometimes the person who spends more time with the child might notice details that... Details? Ashley, my son can't hear anything. Nothing. Do you think I wouldn't want him to hear? Do you think I wouldn't do anything for him to be a normal child? Dr. Harrison's voice was filled with pain and desperation. Ashley realized he wasn't just being stubborn. He was protecting himself from a hope that could be devastating if it proved false. Doctor, I just think it might be worth getting a second opinion. A second opinion? I consulted 5 different specialists. They all confirmed my diagnosis. But what about the psychologist, Dr. Sarah Roberts? She suggested that... How do you know about Dr. Roberts? Dr. Harrison turned pale. I saw her letter in the file. You went through my private documents? Doctor, I was just trying to understand the situation better so I could help. You're fired, Ashley. I want you out of my house right now. Dr. Harrison, please listen to me. Now! And take your crazy theories with you. My son is deaf and I will not allow anyone to feed false hopes here. Ashley felt her heart break, not just from being fired, but from knowing Timmy would remain trapped in that lie. She gathered her things quickly, but before leaving she went to the boy. Timmy, I need to go now. Why, Aunt Ashley? Did you do something wrong? No, sweetheart. Sometimes adults just can't see eye to eye. Are you coming back? Ashley looked at Dr. Harrison, who was standing in the doorway with his arms crossed. I would very much like to come back, Timmy. You take good care of yourself, okay? Aunt Ashley, Timmy whispered. Thank you for keeping our secret. Those words hurt more than Ashley could have imagined. She left the house knowing she was abandoning a child who desperately needed help. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. For 2 weeks, Ashley tried to forget the situation. She got another job with a family on the Upper East Side, but she couldn't stop thinking about Timmy. At night, she'd imagined the boy alone with his lie, protecting his father from a truth that could free them both. She decided to do something she had never done before, seek out Dr. Sarah Roberts, the psychologist who had been ignored by Dr. Michael Harrison. Dr. Sarah's clinic was in Greenwich Village. Ashley called, explained the situation, and managed to get an appointment. So you worked at Dr. Michael's house? Asked Dr. Sarah, a woman around 50 years old with graying hair and kind eyes. I did. I was fired for suggesting that Timmy might not actually be deaf. I see. And what did you observe that led you to that conclusion? Ashley told her everything. The reactions to sounds, the conversation with Timmy, the secret he was carrying. Dr. Sarah listened attentively, taking notes. Ashley, what you're telling me confirms exactly what I suspected. Timmy is suffering from psychogenic deafness, also known as hysterical or functional deafness. How is that possible? It's more common than you might think, especially in children who have experienced severe emotional trauma. The child's mind literally shuts off auditory stimuli as a form of protection. But Dr. Michael said he did all the tests. Yes, and I'm sure they all came back normal. Because physically, there's nothing wrong with Timmy. The problem is emotional. And why won't Dr. Michael accept that? Dr. Sarah sighed. Michael is dealing with his own guilt and trauma, the separation from his wife, the feeling of having failed as a father. It's easier for him to accept that his son has a medical problem than to face the reality that the whole family needs psychological help. But won't this harm Timmy in the long run? Tremendously. The longer it goes on, the harder it will be to reverse the situation. Timmy is learning that lying and playing the victim is an effective way to keep people close. This could affect all his future relationships. What can I do? He fired me. Ashley, you were the first person to notice the truth. That shows you have a special connection with Timmy. I need you to help me reach him. How? I'll try to talk to Michael again, but if he refuses, we might need a more creative approach. Dr. Sarah explained that she had already tried to contact Dr. Michael several times, but he refused to return her calls. The situation was becoming a psychological emergency. Ashley, do you still have the keys to the house? No, I returned them all. But do you know the family's routine? I do. Dr. Michael leaves for the office at 8 in the morning and returns around 6 in the evening. Timmy stays with the new nanny. Who is the new nanny? I don't know. He must have hired someone after I left. Dr. Sarah looked thoughtful. Ashley, I have a proposal. What if you showed up at the house to pick up something you forgot? It could be an opportunity for me to observe Timmy discreetly. But he forbade me from going back there. Michael won't be home. And did you really forget something? Ashley thought. Actually, she had forgotten an earring in the service bathroom. I forgot an earring. Perfect, tomorrow is Friday. Does Michael always work late on Fridays? Always, he stays until 8. Then let's go at 5 in the afternoon. You'll get your earring, and I'll come along as your friend. Maybe I can observe Timmy and talk to him informally. The plan seemed risky, but Ashley was willing to try anything to help Timmy. On Friday, at 5 in the afternoon, Ashley and Dr. Sarah were at the door of the Harrison family's home. Ashley rang the doorbell, her heart racing. A woman around 60 years old answered, her white hair tied in a bun. Hi, I'm Ashley. I worked here until a few weeks ago. I forgot an earring and came to get it, if it's not too much trouble. Oh yes, Timmy talked a lot about you. I'm Mrs. Jenkins. Please come in. This is my friend Sarah. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Jenkins. They entered the house. Timmy was in the living room, playing with puzzles, wearing his usual green headphones. When he saw Ashley, his eyes lit up. Aunt Ashley, you came back. He ran to hug her, and Ashley noticed he had reacted to the sound of the doorbell and the voices at the door. Hi, sweetie. I came to get a little thing I forgot. How are you? Good, Mrs. Jenkins is nice, but she's not like you. Dr. Sarah observed everything carefully. Mrs. Jenkins went to show Ashley where to look for the earring, leaving Sarah alone with Timmy. Hi, Timmy. I'm Sarah, Aunt Ashley's friend. Hi. Timmy was more reserved with the stranger. Are you listening to music on your headphones? No, it's a device to help me hear better. I see. And does it work? Timmy looked around, checking if there were no adults nearby. Sometimes. Sometimes you hear things. A little bit. But Daddy can't know. Why not? Because he gets sad when I hear. Sarah felt her heart tighten. The situation was exactly as she had diagnosed. Timmy, would you like to hear normally, without having to hide? I would. But if I hear normally, Daddy will find out I lied to him. Then he won't like me anymore. Why do you think that? Because Mommy left. If I lie to Daddy too, he'll leave just like Mommy. Sarah understood the child's logic behind the whole situation. Timmy believed that if he were honest about his hearing, he would lose his father, just as he had lost his mother. Ashley came back with the earring, and they said goodbye quickly before Dr. Michael arrived. On the way back, Dr. Sarah was visibly emotional. Ashley, the situation is even more serious than I imagined. Timmy is not just pretending to be deaf. He has developed a pathological belief that his honesty can make people abandon him. What do we do now? I need to talk to Michael immediately. I can't let this go on any longer. But he won't want to listen. Then I'll have to force him to listen. The following Monday, Dr. Sarah called Dr. Michael's office. Dr. Michael, this is Dr. Sarah Roberts. I urgently need to speak with you about your son. Dr. Sarah, I already said I don't need your services. Doctor, I was with Timmy on Friday. He confirmed to me that he can hear perfectly. Silence on the other end of the line. What do you mean you were with Timmy? Who authorized that? Dr. Michael, your son is not deaf. He is pretending to protect your feelings. That's impossible. And I demand to know how you had access to my son. Michael, I'll be direct. If you don't bring Timmy in for an appointment with me this week, I will be forced to contact Child Protective Services. How dare you? I am a doctor. I know very well how to take care of my son. Doctor, with all due respect, as a doctor you are excellent, but as a father you are failing Timmy gravely. Dr. Michael hung up the phone forcefully. That same afternoon he came home early and went straight to talk to Mrs. Jenkins. Was Ashley here on Friday? Yes, she was, Doctor. She came to get an earring she had forgotten. She brought a friend along. What was this friend like? A middle-aged lady, greying hair. She seemed very interested in Timmy. Michael felt his blood boil. Ashley had brought the psychologist to his house without permission. Jenkins, from today on, no one enters this house without my express authorization. No one. Of course, Doctor. Dr. Michael went to Timmy, who was playing in his room. Son, was Aunt Ashley here on Friday? Timmy nodded. And she brought a friend, didn't she? She did. What did you talk about? Nothing much, Daddy. She asked about my headphones. And what did you say? That they help me hear better. Dr. Michael hugged his son, feeling a mix of relief and guilt. Relief that Timmy hadn't revealed anything compromising, and guilt for being glad that his son was still lying. That night, Dr. Michael couldn't sleep. Dr. Sarah's words echoed in his mind. Your son is pretending to protect your feelings. What if it were true? What if Timmy could really hear? He got out of bed and went to his son's room. Timmy was fast asleep without his headphones. Dr. Michael whispered softly, Timmy. The boy stirred in bed. Son, he said a little louder. Timmy opened his eyes. What is it, Daddy? Nothing, son. Go back to sleep. Dr. Michael left the room with a racing heart. If Timmy was really deaf, how had he woken up to his call? He began to question everything. He remembered small details he had ignored. Timmy reacting to sounds when he thought no one was looking, his answers to vibrations being too quick, the way he always knew when someone came home before even seeing them. On Tuesday, Dr. Michael decided to run a test. He left the office early and came home quietly. He entered through the back door and watched Timmy through the window. The boy was playing in the yard with Mrs. Jenkins. She was telling a story, and Timmy laughed at the right moments, answered her questions, reacted to the birds chirping. Dr. Michael felt his legs go weak. His son wasn't deaf. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. His entire professional life, all his medical expertise crumbled before that reality. Dr. Michael leaned against the wall, trying to process what he was seeing. For over a year, he had subjected his son to unnecessary treatments, had reorganized his entire life around a lie. But what shook him the most was the question hammering in his mind. Why would Timmy do this? He decided to confront his son right then. He entered through the front door, making noise on purpose. Hi, Doctor. You're home early today, said Mrs. Jenkins. Hi, Jenkins. Timmy, can you come here for a moment? The boy ran inside and quickly put on his headphones as if it were automatic. Sit here next to me, son. Timmy settled on the couch, looking at his father with those innocent blue eyes. Timmy, Daddy needs to ask you some important questions. The boy nodded. When you put on those headphones just now, did you hear what I said to Mrs. Jenkins? Timmy hesitated for a moment. No, Daddy. I don't hear anything when I have the headphones on. Are you sure? Yes? Dr. Michael took a deep breath. He needed to approach the situation carefully so as not to traumatize his son further. Son, do you remember when you started using these headphones? I remember. It was when I stopped hearing. And do you remember why you stopped hearing? Timmy grew restless, fidgeting with his hands. I got sick. What kind of sickness? I don't know. You said it was an ear sickness. Timmy, look me in the eyes. Daddy will never be angry with you for telling the truth, never. Do you understand that? I understand. Do you really not hear anything? Timmy looked down, his eyes beginning to fill with tears. Daddy, if I tell the truth, will you be sad? Why would I be sad? Because you like taking care of me when I'm sick. If I'm not sick, you won't want to be with me anymore. Dr. Michael Harrison felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. His son had sacrificed his own integrity to secure his attention. Timmy, I like being with you because you're my son, not because you're sick. But you only started staying home more after I stopped hearing. The child's observation was devastatingly accurate. Dr. Michael remembered how before the separation he worked late, traveled constantly, hardly spent any time with the family. Only after Timmy's diagnosis had he reorganized his life to be more present. Son, that was my mistake. I should have spent more time with you all along, sick or not. So you won't be sad if I start hearing again. I'll be very happy if you start hearing again. Timmy slowly took off the headphones as if performing a solemn ritual. Daddy, I hear everything. I always have. I never stopped hearing. Dr. Michael hugged his son, feeling tears roll down his face. A whole year of lies, unnecessary treatments, an entire life reorganized around a farce that his own behavior had created. Why did you do this, Timmy? Remember the day Mommy left? I remember. You fought all night. You shouted a lot. I heard everything from my room. Mommy said she was leaving forever, that she couldn't stand living here anymore. Dr. Michael closed his eyes, remembering that terrible night. The next day you were very sad. I had never seen you cry before. Then I thought, if I can't hear anymore, I won't have to hear you sad, and you'll have to take care of me instead of thinking about Mommy. The childish logic behind the whole situation was both innocent and devastating. Timmy had sacrificed his own honesty to try to heal his father's pain. And it worked, right, Daddy? You stopped crying and started taking care of me. It worked, son, but it wasn't your responsibility to take care of Daddy. It was Daddy's responsibility to take care of you. They hugged for several minutes, father and son finally facing the truth that had been hidden for so long. Daddy, are you going to tell people that I lied? No, son. We'll tell them you got better, and we'll find a doctor who helps children talk about feelings to make sure you're really okay. The lady who came here with Aunt Ashley. Did you like her? Yes, she seemed nice. Dr. Michael smiled. Perhaps Dr. Sarah Roberts wasn't the enemy he had imagined. That same evening, Dr. Michael called Dr. Sarah. Dr. Sarah, this is Michael Harrison. Dr. Michael, what a surprise. Doctor, I need to apologize. You were right about Timmy. He told the truth? He did, and I finally understood what really happened. That's good, Doctor. And now? Now I'd like to schedule an appointment for Timmy, and maybe for me too. It will be a pleasure to help you. Dr. Sarah, there's one more thing. I'd like to call Ashley and apologize to her too. Without her, I might never have discovered the truth. I'm sure she'll be very happy to hear that Timmy is okay. Doctor. Michael hung up the phone and went to look for Ashley's number. He knew he had a lot to fix, many apologies to give, much healing ahead. But for the first time in over a year, he felt hope. When he called Ashley, she answered suspiciously. Ashley, this is Dr. Michael. Doctor. Ashley, I need to ask for your forgiveness. You were right about Timmy. Is he okay? Yes, and I would really like you to come back to work with us. If you want, of course. Of course I want to. Can I come over now? Yes. Timmy was dying to see you. Half an hour later, Ashley was back at the Harrison house. Timmy ran to hug her, without his headphones. Aunt Ashley, I can hear again. That's wonderful, my angel. Actually, I could always hear, but now I can talk about it. Ashley looked at Dr. Michael Harrison, who smiled timidly. Ashley, I don't know how to thank you. You saved my son. You saved our family. Doctor, I just did what anyone would do. No, you were brave enough to stand up to an arrogant doctor and save a child. That's not something just anyone would do. In the following months, the Harrison family began a healing process. Timmy started therapy with Dr. Sarah Roberts, learning healthy ways to deal with his emotions and fears. Dr. Michael also began individual therapy, working through his guilt, his pain over the separation, and most importantly, learning to be a more present and genuine father. Ashley went back to working in the house, but now with a different role. She was no longer just a housekeeper. She had become part of the family, the person who had the courage to see the truth when everyone else was blind. Dr. Michael reduced his workload at the practice, spending more time with Timmy, not because the boy was sick, but because he had finally understood that being a father was his most important responsibility. During one of the family therapy sessions, Dr. Sarah made an observation that deeply affected Dr. Michael. Michael, do you know when Timmy was truly healed? When he took off the headphones? No. It was when you told him you liked spending time with him because he was your son, not because he was sick. It was when he realized he didn't need to be broken to be loved. This revelation completely transformed the way Dr. Michael related not only to Timmy, but to all his patients. He began to understand that sometimes physical symptoms were just manifestations of deeper emotional pain. Timmy in turn flourished. He went back to being a normal, playful, honest child, but the experience had made him more sensitive to the feelings of others, a quality Dr. Sarah said could be very valuable if properly directed. "Aunt Ashley," Timmy said one day while they were playing in the backyard, "thank you for figuring out my secret." "Why are you thanking me, my angel?" "Because carrying a secret is very heavy. Now I can be myself." Ashley hugged the boy, remembering how she had almost given up fighting for the truth. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who can best see our wounds, even when we ourselves are blind to them. Timmy's story spread quietly among Dr. Michael's colleagues, who began paying more attention to the emotional aspects of their young patients. Some cases of unexplained deafness were re-evaluated, and surprisingly, other similar cases were discovered. Dr. Michael wrote a medical article on childhood psychogenic deafness, dedicating it to Ashley Thompson, who had the courage to see what I refused to see. The article helped other doctors identify similar cases, saving many families from going through the same suffering. 1 year after the revelation, Dr. Michael received an unexpected phone call. It was his ex-wife, Jennifer. "Michael, I heard Timmy was cured of his deafness." "Cured isn't quite the right word, Jennifer. He was never really deaf." "What do you mean?" Dr. Michael told the whole story to his ex-wife, who listened in silence. "Michael, I'm so sorry. If I had known—" "Jennifer, we both made mistakes. Me for not seeing what was happening with our son, you for leaving without trying to work out our problems. Can I see Timmy?" "You can. But you'll have to slowly earn back his trust. He's been through a lot of trauma." The reunion between mother and son was carefully mediated by Dr. Sarah. Timmy had held on to a lot of resentment and fear of being abandoned again. But with therapy and lots of love, the relationship gradually began to rebuild. Jennifer did not go back to Dr. Michael. They had come to understand they weren't made for each other, but they found a civilized way to be parents together, always prioritizing Timmy's well-being. Ashley remained with the family as much more than an employee. She became Timmy's godmother in heart, the person he trusted to share his fears and joys. Dr. Michael even offered her a course in child psychology, recognizing her natural talent for understanding children's needs. On a Sunday afternoon, almost 2 years after the whole story, Ashley found Dr. Michael on the porch, watching Timmy play in the backyard. "Doctor, can I ask you a question?" "Of course, Ashley." "What do you feel when you remember everything that happened?" Dr. Michael thought for a moment. "I feel gratitude. Gratitude that you had the courage to see what I couldn't see. Gratitude that Timmy loved me so much he was willing to sacrifice his own honesty to protect me. And gratitude that we managed to find our way back to the truth." "And you don't feel anger toward yourself?" "I did. A lot. But Dr. Sarah taught me that guilt is only useful if it leads us to positive changes. Being stuck in guilt is another kind of illness." Timmy ran up to them, sweaty and smiling. "Daddy, Aunt Ashley, do you want to play hide-and-seek with me?" "Of course," they both answered at the same time. As they ran around the backyard, Ashley thought about how life can change completely when someone has the courage to question an accepted truth. If she hadn't paid close attention, if she hadn't cared enough to risk her job, Timmy could have spent years or even decades living a lie. Sometimes being brave doesn't mean facing great dangers. Sometimes it just means saying, "I see something different from what you're seeing and I think it's worth investigating." Dr. Michael changed not only as a father, but also as a doctor. He began dedicating more time to listening not just to his patients' symptoms, but also to their emotional stories. He discovered that many illnesses had roots in unresolved trauma, unspoken fears, pains that the body expressed when the mind couldn't process them. Timmy grew up knowing there were people in his life who loved him regardless of whether he was broken or whole, sick or healthy. This emotional security became the foundation for all his future relationships. He learned that honesty, even when painful, is always better than protective lies. The Harrison home transformed. Once quiet and heavy, it was now full of laughter, honest conversations and music. Timmy had returned to playing piano, something he had abandoned during his period of deafness, and his melodies filled the house with joy. In one of their last family therapy sessions, Dr. Sarah made a reflection that became the family motto. You've learned that true love isn't about protecting someone from the truth. True love is creating a safe environment where the truth can be spoken and accepted. Dr. Michael framed that phrase and placed it in his office. Many parents who went through similar situations found strength in those words. Timmy's story also inspired Dr. Michael to create an awareness program about psychogenic deafness in schools and pediatric clinics. Together with Dr. Sarah, they developed protocols to identify children who might be suffering from emotional trauma disguised as physical problems. Ashley, encouraged by Dr. Michael, decided to take a technical course in child psychology. She discovered she had a natural gift for understanding children's emotional needs and began working part-time at Dr. Sarah's clinic, helping other families in similar situations. You know, Ashley, Dr. Michael said one day, you taught me that sometimes the most qualified professionals can become blind to truths that a person with an open heart can see clearly. Doctor, I just did what any mother would do. Exactly. You looked at Timmy with a mother's eyes, not a nanny's. That's what made all the difference. 5 years later, Timmy was in school, a normal and happy boy. Occasionally, he would tell his friends about the period when he pretended to be deaf, always emphasizing how important it was to have adults in his life who cared enough to discover the truth. Dr. Michael and Jennifer became friends again, united by their love for their son and the shared experience of almost losing what mattered most due to pride and fear of facing reality. Ashley became a reference in her field, known for her ability to observe details that other professionals missed. She never forgot the lesson she learned from Timmy, that sometimes children carry burdens they shouldn't have to bear, and that it is the responsibility of adults to create an environment where they feel safe to be honest. The Harrison family's story became a case study at several universities, but they always made sure to emphasize that the most important thing wasn't the medical diagnosis, but rather the transformative power of truth, courage, and unconditional love. One afternoon, now an adult, Timmy was helping other parents going through similar situations. He had become a child psychologist, inspired by his own experience and the work of Dr. Sarah. What would you say to a child who is lying to protect their parents? A mother asked during a consultation. I would say that I understand why they're doing it, because I did the same thing. But I would also say that adults are stronger than children think, and that the truth, no matter how painful, is always the first step toward healing. Timmy looked out the window of his office and saw a child playing in the park, free and happy. He smiled, remembering Ashley, his father, Dr. Sarah, all the people who had the courage to fight for his truth when he himself couldn't. Sometimes, saving a child doesn't require superpowers or extraordinary knowledge. Sometimes, all it takes is an open heart, attentive eyes, and the courage to question what everyone accepts as truth. End of story. What did you think of this touching story? Have you ever been in a situation where you needed the courage to stand up for a child? Share your experience in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinion. And don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories that move and inspire. Your participation makes all the difference.